My name is Mike Christensen. I'm the visual arts manager here, and I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your evening to join us for tonight's opening of Water Pilgrimage, Where the Rivers End. I'd like a round of applause for that. A lot of people have done a lot of great work. And I will solicit applause repeatedly if necessary. You know, we really weren't even supposed to be here tonight. Rather, our newly named Pilar Pobil Celebration Gallery was slated for some refurbishing. And we were, for a long story that I won't go into, we were unable to do it at this time. And when we made the decision to not go ahead with that project right away, in less than 24 hours, Linda had given me an email proposal about an idea she had for the exhibit that you see tonight. And, you know, it really, and I knew Linda, I guess. Where is Linda? Linda's behind me. I knew Linda from, I'm looking over here and over here, I forgot you were behind me. I knew Linda because of some other exhibits that I put together in the gallery. The biennial Utah Women's Artists Exhibition that AAUW sponsors, and also some of her work with the Wasatch Camera Club. And so I immediately knew that it would be a good partnership, and it just really felt serendipitous and magical, and with a little bit of divine coming into it there in that 24-hour period. And before we knew it, we didn't have a blank, empty gallery for 2 months, but we started in on the hard work to put together what you see tonight. So thanks to Linda and her entire team for making that possible at the last minute. And before we bring Linda up, I do want to make sure we thank our sponsors, including West Valley City, the Utah Cultural Celebration Center, our new Department of Community Engagement and Culture, Salt Lake County Zoo Arts and Parks, and also the Utah Division of Arts and Museums. So please, a round of applause for them and their continued support and funding, and for yourselves for supporting arts and cultural programming in your community. Thank you very much, folks.
All right, good evening. As you know, my name is Linda Dalton Walker. Sarah and I would like to thank you very much for being here tonight. I would also like to extend again a big thank you to the Utah Cultural Celebration Center for hosting an exhibit dealing with Great Salt Lake. Walking through the mud and shallow water, sometimes arm in arm with Sarah, or zipping across the deltas of the Great Salt Lake with Sarah and Dave Casperson in his airboat, has changed me in more ways than I can imagine. I've never felt so deeply affected by the incredible beauty and the fragility of our lake's environment. When Sarah and I first began this project nearly 2 years ago, there was a lot we didn't understand about the waters that flow into the lake. But our passion for Great Salt Lake and our quest for knowledge, not just as citizens of Utah, but as individuals born and raised in this state, following multiple generations who lived in this place, that pushed us forward. We wanted to gain an embodied understanding of the lake, especially in light of all of the struggles over the past few years. So we decided to turn our attention to the rivers, the Jordan, the Weber, and the Bear, to see if they were flowing into the lake like we envisioned. Well, after consulting Google Earth, who consults Google Earth before research, right? We realized that this journey would be far more complicated than we thought. We reached out to scientists and experts who knew the parts of the lake well, in an effort to pinpoint where each river met Great Salt Lake, and thus began our pilgrimage, weighed down with muck boots, camera gear, pen and paper. Our goal was to physically walk to each convergence point, and we were able to do that sort of with the Jordan River. We walked to 3 different spots along the Jordan and found that the lake was 4 or 5 miles out farther than it should have been. We trekked through vast regions of dirt, miles of muddy deltas, small rivulets of water where the bottom would occasionally drop out and fill our boots with ice-cold water. We waded through endless expanses of frozen cut plants. We endured 18-degree temperatures, so tightly wound up with our clothes we could barely move. We saw a lone great blue heron standing in a dry dirt bed where the lake should have been. When we finally reached the lake, we were filled with a mixture of joy, sadness, and exhaustion. In the late 1800s, a zero-point elevation of 4,196.85 feet was established to indicate the lowest safe level for the health of Great Salt Lake. If the lake drops below that point, the fragile ecosystem is in danger. Currently, our lake is 5 feet lower than that 0 point. Our next river was the Bear. Before attempting to walk out onto the Bear River, I met with the former manager of Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. She explained that the Bear River ends at the observation tower, if you've been out there, before the auto tour begins. Beyond that point, it turns into a series of canals. It's no longer a river. When I told her about our plans, she strongly advised against it. She warned that the lake was about 7 miles out, farther than it should be, and was filled with mud so thick that we were at serious risk of getting stuck. And we had been stuck before. We knew we didn't want to do that again. And there was no one that would be able to rescue us. That's when we reached out to Dave Casperson, an airboat owner. We couldn't physically walk out to the endpoints. If we couldn't, maybe we could get there by boat. Dave took Sarah and me out, and although we made it to Weber Bay, we could not reach Bear River. Our path was blocked by a wall of phragmites. Dave couldn't safely navigate his airboat through the thick growth, and we did at one point see thousands of birds, mostly white-faced ibis that I've got a photo of in there, soaring out of the plants. We also saw tiny nests floating on the very shallow water. We returned with our faces speckled with bugs and soaked in the glistening beauty of Weber Bay. For those of you who are not familiar with the plant, Phragmites are tall plants that deplete water supply faster than historically native species. They reduce access to food for wildlife. After they alter the soil conditions and take over natural grasslands and wetlands. There are an estimated 26,000 acres of Phragmites on Great Salt Lake alone. Our last river to explore was the Reber, and after a failed attempt, I sought Dave's help again. The Phragmites were so thick, I wasn't sure we'd make it through, but Dave, who knows the lake like the back of his hand, expertly maneuvered us through a very narrow passage. After about 7 miles on the airboat, we reached the cerulean Blue Lake. There we encountered thousands of migratory birds. There are roughly 12 million migratory birds that rely upon Great Salt Lake. Well, on the lake, we noted manufacturing industries dotting the shoreline. There are currently 21 industries that surround Great Salt Lake and add toxic pollution to our lake, such as arsenic, copper, iron, manganese, lithium, and lead. Once the dirt bed is exposed and the wind blows, these toxins become airborne, falling onto our Salt Lake Valley and over Wasatch Mountains. Right now, there is an estimated 800 square miles of exposed dirt surrounding the lake. That is the area of the size of the island of Maui. So what did we learn? The rivers are not making it to our lake like we envisioned. It is complex and complicated. But industrial usage, fast-growing plant species, overdevelopment, unsustainable water practices, and climate change are all contributing to the dangerously low water levels. It's been quite a journey for Sarah and me, and as I reflect on the past 2 years, I am deeply grateful for all of the people who have supported us through these endeavors and in our ongoing discussions of Great Salt Lake. I'm sure my friends get tired of it. We hope that as you gaze at the images I photographed, enjoy Sarah's poetry, take in the work created by other artists here, you'll feel something of the soul of the lake, as well as the urgency for our call to action for help. Please take a moment to speak with one of the nonprofits organizations present tonight and learn how you can help protect Great Salt Lake. Thank you. Now I'll turn the time over to Sarah Ann Woodbury for poetic mappings of the heart of our water pilgrimage.
In a sky-swept lake bed, not far from here, 3 bodies churn to one. Bear River from the north, Weber from the east, and Jordan from the south. Each tongues the land on her way to the lake, bringing with her the mouthfeel of farmlands, the melt of suburban sprawl, the clean musk of granite peaks. Collected, pressed into bundles, carried cold in the throat for anointing. Do you know these rivers? How each curves when she feels herself nearing lake, seeping into wetlands or jolting into maze dance of canal, folded like eyes into her pock marks, the blues, the violets, the shining black. Do you know the bodies that dance through ice and sun shard, desert and vein? See these behemoths rushing, unruly, plucking a butterfly from Great Salt Lake waters, wings of salt in the palm. So that first piece was a haiben, which is a Japanese form that has prose poetry at the beginning and a haiku at the end. So as you look at that poem, if you had the chance, or if you have the chance to in the gallery space, the magic of this form is kind of the shimmering in between, the liminal space in between the two forms, which reminds me of Great Salt Lake, so notice that. And in the spirit and continuing with haiku, I now wanted to share a grouping of haiku that breathed between the lake and me in our journeys. This is entitled 5 Haiku for Jordan. 1. On a saline plain with wind in all directions, a black widow is still. 2. Thick lake reeds bow through the dense gold eye of coyote. 3. Out near the water, women and birds are running, a man raising his shotgun. 4. In her puddle under the ice, a tiny fish glints slowly too. 5. A winter frost breathes across salt sculptures, leaving lights, my own breath joining. I will now share an obad, which is a form that explores the grief of leaving a lover. So this piece is entitled Obad for Weber River. Where the Weber ends, slips his 1,000 twisting fingers down through fat sands toward the bed he once shared, gushingly, gurglingly, blushingly with Bear and with Jordan. There are storms of nests and their swallows. A man carrying spider silks that sink into mud, and a shed stuffed with machines paused and hungry. There is a train hoarding fossils under its tracks, canal and electric branching endless. There is a grebe with 3 babies on her back who are not endless. A thin red sky, flies with saws for mouths. And this next piece is very different from the previous. This is a found poem, which just means that it's bits and pieces taken from something else. And so this is a found poem from my notes when we went out with Dave on his airboat. And so you'll hear little quotes from various people throughout this piece. So this is Notes from Willard while searching for Bear River. And it's an excerpt because the original poem is 3 pages and I won't subject you to that. Headed toward where Bear meets incoming goal, Franklin's Cormorants slash ibises leaving, coots run on water. Can we go over grasses, airboats, earmuffs, pelican, yellow-headed nests, grebes diving, the plant mazes and their devotees, boatmen, teals, purple barren hills, lines of birds in every direction. Migrating cormorants are the last to go, eyes red gem, white heron. The driver came out here duck hunting as a kid, told his dad he'd have his own boat one day. The wife got a horse and he gave $500 bills for this Swiss cheese boat. Parting seas of diving birds. Ruddy ducks disappear, blue flash running for their lives into the grasses. Nests faced east, storms from northwest. Don't want to get a nest full of snow, put your hands around the nest. Wetland smell. Feel how tight the nest is. Turn diving. Hi, sweetheart, be nice. Loud noise of airboat. Down, slowing down for slower birds. Can hear the grass as we go by. Smells shifting, salted, sweet, good rot. Feather pops up from below. Sharp needles of terns, avocets, clouds of them. They dance and cross their necks. Green-winged teal, promontory ridge, coots walk, run on water. One dark stand of bulrushes and miles of frag full of red-winged blackbirds. Mines below Ben Lomond are rock solid. You can go in. Before I die, I'll climb the face of Ben Lomond. 2 pelicans gold against sun. Tern eggs cream with brown speckles. Mama came by, pillars of gnats like sentinels, guarding the heart of this place. Little flecked eggs in grassy clutches. Intimacy of a gnat crushed in the purse of my lips, spit to the wind. White ones like herons, egret snow. Shit raining from sky, so many tiny grebe heads, star, circle of mountains, a giant nest. No passage through frag wall, great blue heron. I feel compelled to record every species, just in case. Mounted birds are like a picture to us, expensive, they take 2 years to make. Most concentrated phalaropes in the world, exposed, fresh, incomplete nest of ibis or tern. Coyotes keep foxes and skunks down, mating flies. Ibis thousand sheen, carps like dragons, gold backs, shallow water, edges tended by dinosaurs. White pelican bodies looming, carp sea monsters, crowd spawn, black crown night heron, California gull, floating, a whole group of babies who dive, coots. People have no idea what's west of them. And this next piece is an ode. It's entitled 3 Rivers. Even as we speak, they slide across valleys and mountains to get to her, wrap their deltas around her, and pour into her belly. Oh, out in the dark, when moon has turned to dreaming, they run to her. And I will end with one more Haibin. And I just want to thank you all so much for coming and for being here with our lake and with all these incredible artists. I was just so moved seeing these gems on the walls of our lake. So I hope you're all just falling in love, if you weren't already, with this being. So this piece is titled Gristle Hum for Great Salt Lake 2 years from now. Birdsong breaks across fields of salt. Red-winged blackbirds struggling to swallow last night's meteor shower. Caspian terns stringing their shards on the air. Sonic icicles, shutters of stones. Belly memories of brine-fly larvae sharp on their tongue. The singers rise on cue from the grunt of the lake bed. Webbed feet drip black chrysalis and arsenic. Musk the air with migratory dreams. But the phalaropes will not sing. They are cut off from the music like ghosts. See the brittle bones in the skull, hear quarter notes. Count the salted beaks on the shore like rests. The sky hums gristle. Sunrise spills over the last pools of oiled featherbacks. And we will now be honored by dancers Ray Lubert and Mila Prajansky Ono. Thank you.
there are some very special people Sarah and I would like to thank this evening. First, we want to extend a heartfelt thank you to the dancers, Ray and Milo. They're of Shoreline Swell, and just your gorgeous work with the lake. Thank you. Thank you again to the Utah Cultural Celebration Center, Michael, Gwen, and Susan for all of your help in pulling together the fine details of this wonderful exhibit. Didn't Michael do an incredible job hanging the pieces? It just sparkles. Please see Michael if you're interested in purchasing any of our pieces to further our conservation efforts. Additionally, if you want to support Sarah's poetry or the work of the dancers, there is a QR code on the program you can use. We'd also like to thank the incredible nonprofits that are here tonight who are working endlessly to support the Great Salt Lake. If you haven't spoken to them yet, I encourage you to do so. So I'm going to have them just kind of stand and wave their hands in case you haven't had a chance to meet them. So we have Making Waves, Friends of Great Salt Lake, Grow the Flow, Stewardship Utah, Youth Coalition for Great Salt Lake, and the Jordan River Commission. Thanks to the talented artists whose work stands alongside ours in tribute to our watershed. So I'd like to acknowledge the artists, so if you raise your hand or jump up and down or do a dance or something, let's have some excitement. We have Ash, gosh, I already messed it up. Ash Gerlach, Bill Peterson, Jean Hansen, Mary Perry, Brett Shobin, and Doug Tolman. Be sure to support them in any way you can, and don't forget to check out their art. Our exhibit extends until February 25th. So there is plenty of time to come back and look at the images and the text a bit closer. A special thanks to Dave Casperson. Dave, will you stand? Oh, you're already standing. He is our airboat driver, a makes me cry, a wonderful and knowledgeable advocate for the Great Salt Lake. His expertise and passion have been invaluable to our pilgrimage. We wouldn't have been able to make it out to two. And of course, there is hope. You always think, oh, there's so much negative, but there is hope. And yes, your presence tonight indicates that there is hope for our lake. So our biggest thanks goes to our Great Salt Lake, but then it goes to all of you. Thank you for coming tonight. It has such an incredible attendance. And for not only showing your support of the arts, but for our critical conservation efforts we are all undertaking to draw attention to the urgent needs of Great Salt Lake. As we begin throwing our pebbles into the water, those small actions create ripples that can create waves of change. Let's give a huge round of applause for all the efforts many in attendance tonight are putting forth to help save our lake. Thank you again. Be sure to check out the art some more, and then again, let Michael know if you want to purchase anything. Thank you.